Hello folks, and welcome to the start of a brand new game playthrough for my channel. I'm the Lone Adventurer. Thank you very much for stumbling your way upon my channel here on the YouTube. Today I'm going to be starting a game called Barbarian Prince. Now this is a game that has been around for a long time, almost as long as I've been on this earth. I think this game was first created, just says the early 80s. First created in the early 80s. And at some point, much more recently than that, back in 2003, the company that owned the rights to it made it freely available on the internet. And since then, it has been possible to pick the game up on Board Game Geek. And since then, a few people have reskinned the game, redesigned it in terms of how it looks visually, so that it's a bit more pleasing to the eye, but the game remains exactly as it was 40 years ago when it was first created. It's pretty crazy. Now, there are playthroughs of this on YouTube already, obviously, but I thought I'd do my own. It's a game that I've wanted to give a go for quite some time. I have been playing a little bit off camera to familiarise myself with the rules, but to be honest, that was about a month ago and I haven't played it since, so hopefully it's going to go okay. Now, I seem to remember it taking me a little while to get used to the ordering of movement and the combat damage mechanism is, I don't know, a little weird. I found it a little confusing. I didn't quite understand why it was the way it was. Here it is actually. There's a little reference down here. Yeah, you roll a dice and you make a calculation, and depending upon the result you do a certain number of wounds. So for example, if your combat result is 10, 12, 13 or 17, you do 2 wounds. But if your combat result is 14, you do 3 wounds. 16, 18 and 19, you do 5 wounds. So it's a little esoteric, and I'm not quite sure why, whether it's just to sort of simulate the confusion and more random elements that are naturally part of a combat, or whether there's some deeper logic there that I don't understand. I'm not really sure. But anyway, Barbarian Prince is the classic overland exploration fantasy pencil and paper game, and it comes with a rulebook. This is my rulebook. So most of the stuff here comes from the same redesigned set, which you can get on Board Game Geek. The rulebook. Then you've got a slightly thicker events book, which details all the various things that can happen. There's a substantial amount of occurrences and events and interactions and things that can befall you in there. And also these tables here for the various different landscape types that you travel through. So countryside, well, that's one for treasure. Things that can happen on the road, things that can happen in the hills, things that can happen when you cross a river, all that stuff. All of those are also represented by tables in these books, so they're not entirely necessary, but they looked pretty, so I made them. We've got a sheet here that allows us to track various things. We'll have a look at that when we go through character setup in a moment. And then this map here is from a different set. So there is tables and charts and things that match this map stylistically, and they all look very beautiful. But I discovered this more recently, and I decided to use this one in the playthroughs because the original map and the map that goes with this stuff here is bigger. and a little less practical to use on screen. So we're going to go with this one. So eventually we will have a cube on here to track our Barbarian Prince as he moves around the world. This game has a reputation for being a little bit brutal. I kept a little record here of my previous playthroughs. So here we can see this is my first playthrough. Didn't last very long. I mean, is that almost just one location? It ended quickly anyway. So that was a very short playthrough, and I did do a playthrough before that, which was equally quick. Then I started a new playthrough, started tracking my game a little bit more accurately, and I was doing all right actually. I got lost, spent quite a lot of time lost, but let's see, that's day 12. Day 14 I was still alive. I made my way all the way to the town of Cymru. You start at the top of the map somewhere, and I got down to Cymru in the end, which is pretty much as far as I'd got into the map before. But today we're going to be starting a new game and seeing how far we get. If I die quickly, then I'll start up and do another video and see if we can get a game going where we get into it a decent amount and do some good exploring of the world of Barbarian Prince. I'm also aware that this is a game that some people have played an awful lot, and I haven't played much at all. So if you are a Barbarian Prince player and you notice me doing things incorrectly, do feel free to drop a comment below this video and let me know what I'm doing wrong, because I think I'm hoping to be playing this game across at least 3 or 4 videos, maybe even more than that, so I can always adjust how I'm playing and my interpretation of the rules as we go. But I think we should probably make a start. So this is in the rulebook. We've got a section here on your character, and this is where we start. Now the aim of the game, one of the aims of the game, is to get you up and running straight away. So the idea is we read this bit, we switch over to an entry in the events book, and then you learn everything else as you go. Now I've read quite a lot of the rules in here, so I'm moderately familiar with how things go, so hopefully it'll be okay. Hopefully it will go okay. Anywho, let's get cracking, shall we? You begin play as the Barbarian Prince Cal Arath, rightful heir to the throne of the Northland Kingdom. Few humans can match your skill with trusty Bonebiter, your broadsword. You have combat skill 8. Okay, so combat skill, combat skill, this is coming back to me. I think I've been tracking with a dice. Let me just grab a dice. Alright, so I'm going to put that there for our combat skill of 8. Life in the harsh Northlands has developed your powerful body and magnificent physique. Well, thank you very much. You have endurance of 9. Right, so I think this here is the endurance tracker. If I remember correctly, endurance is like your health. So we'll pop a cube there on 9 to show us that's where we're at. Alas, in making your escape, you could only grab a few coins. Your wealth code is 2. See R225 for determining exactly how many gold pieces you have. So R225 means rules entry 225. And that's the treasure table, which I think is the same as this. Apologies if you can hear the rain in the background now. Yeah, that's that. So we can actually use this. I mean, because you refer to the treasure table quite frequently during the game. So set 2. Yeah. So what we do is we look at level 2. So basically not much wealth. The most we can get is 4 gold, and we roll a dice to determine how much we get. 2. Rubbish. So, always with the rubbish rolls. So that gets us 1 gold. So we will mark 1 gold over here. In addition, you have a wit and wiles rating, reflecting your ability to react quickly to situations, think your way out of trouble, and convince people. Roll 1 die to determine wit and wiles. If the result is 1, consider it 2 instead. Okay, so 4. So we've got a wit and wiles level of 4. Where do I put that? Alright, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to mark that. I guess I'll just put that here for now to remind me. So there's a combat skill of 8, a wit and wiles of 4. Alright, and this is one of the ways you can adjust the game difficulty, or the only way you can adjust the game difficulty in terms of the actual rules. A greater wit and wiles will be to our benefit, so you can lower that down if you want it to be more challenging, although given how difficult this game can be, I'm not really sure who goes around increasing the difficulty, but there you go. So if we turn to the events book, the adventure begins. Evil events have overtaken your Northland's kingdom. Your father, the old king, is dead, assassinated by rivals to the throne. These usurpers now hold the palace with their mercenary royal guard. You have escaped and must collect 500 gold pieces to raise a force to smash them and retake your heritage. Well, we've got 1 gold piece, so we just need 499 more. Furthermore, the usurpers have powerful friends overseas. If you can't return to take them out in 10 weeks, their allies will arm and you will lose your kingdom forever. Now consult R201 to determine the starting attributes, R202, of yourself as the Barbarian Prince, and then return to this event and read the paragraph below. Okay, so we did things slightly backwards. We've already determined the initial attributes of our character. To escape the mercenary royal guard, your loyal body servant Ogab smuggled you into a merchant caravan to the southern border. Roll 1 die to see where the caravan takes you, while poor Ogab faces the wrath of the royal guards back home. Alright, so we're going to roll a dice. It'll tell us where to start. 1. So 1, we start in Ogon. Alright, so we're starting in this little town. We'll use the blue cube. So this is Ogan here. There's a little town up in the top left corner. Now at dawn you roll out of the merchant wagons into a ditch, dust off your clothes, loosen your sword belt and get ready to start the first day of your adventure. See R203 for possible actions available to you. Alright, and then we've got a little important note here, which I don't think I noticed the first time I played. It says, if you finish actions for a day on any hex north of the Tragoth River, the mercenary royal guardsman may find you. See E002 after normal events have concluded, but before you take your evening meal. So this is the Tragoth River running along here. And we are currently north of that, so we could immediately try and get to the south, or we could carry on the bank and take our chances. I have heard some people say that you want to try and encounter the mercenary royal guard and get some stuff off them in some way, but equally they could attack you and kill you. So I don't know what to do. Let's have a look at the actions we've got available to us. Just do a quick review of what we're allowed to do. So at the start of each day you select 1 action for yourself. All other followers of your party, we don't have any followers obviously yet, will perform the same action, support and helping you. They can't be trusted to act on their own. Each action has separate rules, blah blah blah. Alright, so actions allowed in any hex. We can rest, to heal wounds, and improve hunting. I don't think we've got any food yet, so we do need some food. Travel to a new hex, which is your most common choice, or search for a previously placed cache. So sometimes you'd be looking for something that you've stashed away or that somebody else has stashed away as your action. And then if you find yourself in a town, castle, temple or ruins, then there are additional actions that you can do. I think probably we should move to a new hex, and we will move south of the river into this field on the southern riverbank. Now, crossing a river can be a little tricky, so each time you try to leave a hex you may get lost. So the first thing we need to do is to see if we get lost. So at the moment I am in a town. I'm not 100% sure how you check to see whether you get lost when you leave a town. I think the way I was playing it was, we say that we're in countryside, because the towns are generally in countryside. That's what I think anyway. So we have a look on here, and every location type has a lost value. So we will roll 2 dice, and if we roll 9 or more, then we are lost. And that sort of means you can't move, basically, and you're stuck where you are. So let's give that a go. 7. Okay, so we're not lost. That's good. I've just remembered we need to be tracking what day it is. So we've got, was it 70 days? So we're in week 1, and this is day 1. Now we've also got food supply that we need to track. However, if I'm going to sort of keep the rule book in place, maybe I need to write down the food supply somewhere else. So maybe we'll get some more dice to track food supply. Not that we have any food yet. When we do have some food, I've got a dice to track it. Alright, what was I actually doing? Okay, so we didn't get lost leaving the countryside. We also now need to do a check. When you cross a river, you have to do an additional check. And for river crossings, you get lost on an 8 or more. Okay, so we did get lost crossing the river. That's annoying. Alright, so that unfortunately means we are stuck where we are, which is a bit of a bummer, because if you're in town, maybe I should have just moved out of the town. Because if you're in town, you can't just make camp, you've got to pay for lodgings. So that does suck. If we were out in the wilderness, we'd be able to hunt. Oh, unless we're treating this as farmland, which I don't think it is. Can I hunt? Oh, hunting is prohibited. Hunting is prohibited in any hex with a town, castle or temple. Okay, so I guess, and you know, maybe I could retcon this and say I didn't try and cross over the river, but the fact is that I did. So I'm stuck in the town. I've got to spend my only gold to purchase a meal, and I don't think I am compelled to purchase lodgings for myself. I can just wrap my cloak around myself and bed down in a quiet alley somewhere, so I guess that's what I'm going to do, and then we'll move on to day 2. And day 2, we're not going to try and cross the river, we're going to get out of town, so hopefully we can do some hunting. Alright, so this time, today, we're going to try and get out of town, and we're going to try and head into these mountains to the east. That's the plan. Let's see if we get lost heading into the mountains. So if the mountains, we get lost on a 7+. Okay, so that's fine, we don't get lost. Sorry, I was supposed to do a check on your lost check is supposed to be based upon the hex that you're leaving, but I think a roll of 5 would have been safe anyway. Then we need to roll to see whether we have an event on the hex that we are entering. So for the mountains, if we roll a 9 or more, we have an event. Nope, no event. That is fine by me. Events are sometimes good, but quite often not so good. And it would be nice just to do some hunting. Lame. So you can't hunt in mountains. That's irritating. So I can't even hunt here. I've got no food and I can't hunt. Rubbish. So I guess that means I'm going to start starving. If you cannot provide food each day for characters or mounts, starvation will begin to affect their loyalty. Character starvation. If a character goes without food for a day, on the following day his ability to carry loads is halved. Combat skill is reduced by 1. Okay, so first day without food. My ability to carry loads is halved. I can't quite remember how much of a load I can carry anyway, and I'm not carrying anything at the moment, so we won't worry about that. Combat skill is reduced by 1. Okay, so my combat skill for the following day is down to 7. Hopefully I'll remember to put that back up again when I've eaten. But that's that. So we're going to go to sleep on the second day out in the mountains with no food in our belly. Rubbish. Okay, on to day 3. Hopefully we won't get lost leaving the mountains. No, good. And let's see if we have an event entering the woods. Right, so on a roll of 9 or more, we have an event entering the forest. Oh ho, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we do have an event. Alright, so we need to roll 2 dice and then find out what event is happening here. So we'll have the blue dice down the side and the orange dice along the top. 2, 5, 2, 5. Bandits. Doesn't sound good, does it? E051. Right, so we're going to turn to the event book. Right down at the bottom here we have a section on bandits. You are ambushed by bandits who surprise you in combat. The number of bandits exceeds the number of characters in your party by 2. One of the bandits is the leader with combat skill 6, endurance 6, wealth 15. The rest are combat skill 5, endurance 4, wealth 1. So we've got 1 bandit leader and 2 regular bandits. That's pretty brutal. So now we're facing 3 people in combat. So this is it, day 3. There's every possibility that this is the end of the road for our Barbarian Prince. But I think we'll leave it there and we'll take up the combat in the next video. We'll give it a go, and if it doesn't immediately go away, we might have to try and escape the bandits. But anyway, hope you enjoyed watching the start of our adventure. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy watching adventures just like this one, and I'll catch you in the next one for part 2 of the Barbarian Prince playthrough. Bye for now.